Good morning, friends.
Good morning, sir.
Shall we start?
Sure, sir.
So, yesterday, Saturday's class, just let us review. So we have discussed about the evolution of quality control subject. So it started with the contribution of started with the contributions of Walter A. Shewhart, who invented control charts. That is the first, you can say, a tool which has the predictive capacity. As I said now, like in a matured subject, it will have a bit of predictive capability. That means you have understood the subject so well, you will know, like, in certain conditions, what could be the eventual occurrence of a certain event. Here, Walter Shewhart, then we have seen acceptance sampling, scientifically designing acceptance sampling, because prior to their contribution, people used to have different kind of wrong notions about taking sampling from a lot. And this was resolved by these two people, Dodge and Romick. And then anyway, like R.A. Fisher and another Indian by name C.R. Rao, they did wonderful work. they together invented ANOVA, analysis of variance, and other statistical tools which will quicken the process of investigation. Right? So anyway, I will tell you some interesting anecdotes of that particular contribution of those two guys. Then we went to Ishikawa diagram or cause and effect diagram, how it will help us to find out the root cause of a quality issue. And then Taguchi, like this man's main contribution is robust design. That means how to make a process or a product immune to its environmental variation. So robust design means the product should continue to perform at its targeted value in spite of environmental variations. And then we have quality function deployment, which is a very, very beautiful tool to understand thoroughly a customer. So I gave the example of Toyota car door. And then Edward Deming and Joseph M. Joram, they said like quality is not a headache of only manufacturing engineer or design engineer or marketing guy. It should involve the entire organization. The entire organization should act in unison to serve the customer and improve the survivability of the organization. Then we have Bill Smith, 1986 Six Sigma quality, like where you're going to the extent of measuring precisely. Six Sigma quality means you should get defects of only 3 defects in 3 or 2 defects in a million opportunities of getting a defect. So that is the level. So this is a very, very tough target for any institution to reach that kind of quality. Like only few organizations like Sundaram Fasteners, there are certain organizations. And then there is a famous Bombay Dabbawala. Bombay Dabbawala, the guys who deliver afternoon meals in Mumbai, they have achieved this. They could, for every 1 million transactions they do, they misplace only 1 or 2 carriages. So that is the level of delivery, reliability that the Bombay Dabbawala people do. See, they have not studied. Most of them are 10th failed, but still they have that perseverance to reach Six Sigma quality level of delivery. So you can search in Google Bombay Dabbawala, you have plenty of information on them. Like Prince Charles was so much impressed by their performance, he called them for his during his second marriage to that Bubbles, Camilla Bubbles or somebody. And anyway, like ISO 9000 is the one which where you have put all the quality protocols in perspective and try to give some kind of certification so that you qualify certain minimum standards. Like just like right now, NIT Warangal, he is applying for NBA accreditation. This is also a kind of quality system which we are trying to do. So anyway, with these, so this is what we have discussed yesterday in our in previous class. Right now, let us move on to say like we talked about robustness, serviceability, then features or characteristics, performance. Then we said like there are various types of costs are involved. prevention costs, appraisal costs, internal failure costs, and external failure costs. All right. So these are the various quality. So we try to minimize internal failure costs and external failure costs because they are very dangerous for the long run survivability of the organization. Particularly, external failure costs are dangerous because you are likely to erode your brand value. After the customer receives the product or the service, you should uh, you should see that whatever the customer gets is free from defects. But what people say is, if you are really good at delivering the good goods to the customer, it should actually delight the customer. Forget about seeing a defect. In fact, like you should be doubly surprised by the quality of the product. In fact, you should delight. In fact, that is exactly what Google people were doing. Why Google, even though they are late entrants to search engine segment, see, previously Yahoo search is there, Lycos, so many search engines were there. But where the Google search engine had the edge. In fact, even Microsoft's Bing is nowhere near Google search engine's capability, right? So, uh, so here, uh, Raghu, or someone has asked some question. So, see, right now, like we had a NBA accreditation, but for every 5 years we have to renew it. Okay, that's why again we in January we are again going for a renewal of our NBA. So every 5 years you should we have to again renewal our accreditation. So 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 this is this is what it said, like someone said, like Brave. I don't know Breva, so I didn't heard about it. But what I mean to say is Google search engine, it is not only able to give you reasonably good uh, search results. Sometimes it is also able to it is able to even guess your question itself. That means going beyond his expectations. So ultimately, any quality problems, quality, the ultimate goal of any quality management is to, within the cost band, within that given cost issue, you should able to give a better value to the, deliver a better value to the customer. So uh, it is not like, see, no customer will expect a nano car customer may not expect a Rolls Royce kind of quality. But for his money, he always expects some kind of value in the form of so in the form of okay, like a value for money, right? So so external failure costs avoid at any cost because that will definitely erode the brand value. Say, for example, one of the where Tatas have gone wrong with respect to Tata Nano is sometimes there are what is so called spontaneous fires in the car. because of the some defect in their wire harness. Somewhere there is a compromise on the wire harness quality. The wires that they were using to connect various parts of the car. So like for lighting and then battery. So there was spontaneous fires, and then that has given an impression that this is a cheap car, not a quality car. Right? So, so you have to avoid as far as possible internal failure costs and external failure costs. Like prevention costs, appraisal costs. Again, there is a prevention cost means again you try to put them like you try to design. We try to design the product or processes such that even your prevention costs and appraisal costs can also be lowered. So that is also there. There are ways and means to do it. Only thing is how much perseverance and patience you have. Okay. So anyway, like we have these various of quality management like cause and effect check sheet. So out of this, we will be mainly concentrating on control chart and acceptance sampling. Right? If it's the rest of the things like we will not concentrate because as I said, now we the limited time available, like we will be this and then apart from these control chart and acceptance sampling, we will be dealing about QFD and TQM, surface treatment of TQM. Okay. So now let us proceed to this. So statistical quality control techniques, this was developed in the year, I don't know, like it was these statistical process control techniques were, this is a contribution of Walter A. Shewhart. I told you, he invented in 1924. This Walter A. Shewhart, he's you can say he used to work for Bell Labs. Bell Labs. Once upon a time, Bell Labs, they say it is the most innovative laboratory in the world because on the average, they used to register around 10 patents per day. That's why major inventions have come from that particular lab. Whether you take Unix, C language, semiconductor transistor, laser. In fact, Bell Labs never boasts itself of about their contribution with respect to statistical process control charts. In fact, it is just a one-liner. They never boast that this is an important contribution by them. In fact, like there is another important contribution, like this Shewhart, incidentally, he was working in to test his techniques, SQC, statistical quality control charts and these things. In fact, like he was testing his tools in the same plant where Hawthorne experiments have happened. What was the period during which the Hawthorne experiments have happened? Any guess? Hmm?
1890s,
Huh?
1890s, or
Oh no. It was almost same period. See, it was around
Sir, yeah, yes, sir. It was 1924.
It was same,
19
almost same period, like 1927 or
before Second World War.
yes, 1927 to 31 or 32. So to test this, he even though he invented in 1924, he has come to Hawthorne plant to test his control to see like how they work in reality. So, uh, like along with him, he brought in two more great shishyas of his. He and his team. All the team became very, very world famous. One of his Shivhart's, one of his trusted shishya was one was Edward Deming. Another guy was Joseph M. Juran. Both Joseph M. Juran. Both went on to become what called advisors to Japanese government. And these two guys, Edward Deming and Joseph M. Juran, ultimately they had advised so beautifully the Japanese government and the Japanese industries that finally Japanese were beating Americans in manufacturing. They have excelled better than Americans, and the Japanese products started dominating in every country, the entire world. So that is the impact of W. Shivhart. So W. Shivhart, who was working for Bell Labs to test his tools, he has come to Hawthorne plant, and he has come. When he has come, he has brought in Edward Deming and Joseph M. Juran. And in fact, like Edward Deming, simultaneously he was looking at the work that is being done by Rohit Badger and Elton Mayo. And in fact, when he started observing what these guys are doing, then he came, this Edward Deming came with his own principles of management, which have become subsequently very famous. Just like Henry Fayol's 14 principles of management, Edward Deming also has come up with his own 14 principles of management. And now that 14 principles were to the taught. Every Japanese top companies follow in toto. Like if somebody, some of you are interested, you should read his book called Out of Crisis. By Edward Deming. That is a very good book on how to pull a company out of red. What motivates people? How quality philosophy has to be brought into every step of the organization. So anyway, so Joseph M. Juran and then Edward Deming. So in 1924, Shivhart invented that, and to test those things, he has come to Hawthorne plant. So here, what are the specific tools that Shivhart invented is, one is X bar and R chart, another set is P chart and C chart. So what is the, like why these different types of control charts is, but it again X bar and R chart is particularly useful based on what kind of inspection procedure is being followed to separate good ones from bad ones. So the type of inspection followed in the case of variable X bar and R chart is inspection by variables. Inspection by variables means you exactly measure the given quality characteristic, whichever quality you want to make it consistent. Like for example, like if you are finding out the diameter of a shaft with a plus or minus 0.1 micron or 10 microns, maybe like, so if you are measuring the exactly the characteristics of that exact measurement of that diameter, it is called as inspection by variables. Suppose if the same shaft is measured by using no go and no go gauge, where you will not be measuring directly the given diameter, but you are indirectly ensuring that this diameter of the shaft is within a certain permissible variation, that is tolerance. So if you are using screw gauge to measure the diameter of the shaft, then that kind of inspection method is called as inspection by variables. If you are using some go and no go gauge to measure the same diameter of the, to ensure that the diameter of the shaft is within certain permissible range, like in the form of tolerance band, then that kind of inspection is called as inspection by attribute. So here, so normally here in inspection by variable, we will not like we will check each and every, like here I have given the example of diameter of a shaft. It can be pH value of a solution, or it can be resistance of a resistor, voltage, current. But if you are using them directly, like measuring them directly using certain gauge, that kind of inspection method is called inspection by variables. Inspection by attributes means here you say finally you are deciding the indirectly the fate of the product. You say like, if you say like you are measuring the diameter of a shaft, there you are saying, so if it pass through go side and it doesn't pass through no go side, you say it is a good quality shaft, we will pass it. Suppose it is the other way, whereas in the no go side it has gone inside, and in the go side it is not going. That means it is a defective shaft. So you say it can't be used for the purpose it is intended. So here you are deciding the fate of, and there is no haziness. Haziness in the sense like you are saying that this particular part is not good for the intended purpose. So here control chart. So for when you are measuring the quality in terms of yes or no, or you are trying to count the number of defects. So for example, C chart is for number of defects. See, C chart is normally is used when you are counting the number of defects, not, see, you have to note down the difference between defective and defect. When you say like a product is defective, that means you have ultimately decided its fate of the product or component. When you say a particular component is defective, that means it is not good for the intended purpose. Okay, so here we are, whereas if you say that a product or component has defects, sometimes a minor defect can be excused because it may not harm the functioning or working of that particular component. Say, for example, if there are so few, one or two few blowholes in a casting, still you may use it because those blowholes in the casting, they may have occurred at a place where there is no loading. All right. So you can Similarly, like for example, number of bad riveting in a fuselage of an aircraft. Like if one or two rivets are not done properly, it doesn't mean that the aircraft cannot fly. You'll only probably you'll say like this aircraft is not worthy of flying if the number of bad riveting happens beyond certain numbers. So control chart for defectives and control chart for defects, P chart and C chart. There you follow an inspection, we call it as inspection by attribute. Here we say yes or no. If we are saying a defective means yes, throw out. The product cannot be or component cannot be used for the intended purpose. So you have decided it's fit. Whereas here you are only counting the defects, and again it is left to your judgment whether the product can still be used with those one or two defects. So you might have said like if the number of blowholes in the casting goes beyond 4, may be bad. You might have taken a policy decision. But as such, counting the number of defects doesn't result in you taking the ultimate decision on the fate of the product, right? So these statistical process control charts, they are sometimes called as online control techniques. Why? Because when the process is going on, you have to use these charts. Whereas, that means you occasionally go to the process, take a sample, and depending on the sample quality, you decide the fate of the whether you want to stop the process or continue with the process. So this is an online health monitoring system for any process. Statistical process control charts are it is an online health monitoring system for a given process. Whereas if you take the other techniques which are part of SQC techniques, that is acceptance sampling. So you have single sampling plan, double sampling plan, and multiple or sequential sampling plan. These are normally called as offline techniques. Why? Because acceptance sampling, like they are used either before the process or after the process, not during the process. So before the process means suppose like you are getting some components from outside to be used in your product. You may use a single sampling plan or a double sampling plan to ensure that whatever the components that are accepting from a supplier, they are within a certain level of quality. Similarly, you may use single sampling plan or double sampling plan or multiple sequential plan when you want to like see like when you are your supplier, your what you call your customer might insist using single sampling plan or other sampling plans to ensure that he is receiving a good quality. So here you can use them either like they will be used either before or after the process, not during the process. So that's why they are called as offline techniques. So this is again acceptance sampling techniques were invented by Dodge and Romick almost in the same time. And in fact, the beauty of these sampling plans is if, as I told you in the last class, if Americans have won the World War II, part of the credit goes to this acceptance sampling. See, For example, this single sampling plan and double sampling plan proved to be very, very useful in the case of bullets manufacturing. You know, in Second World War, American Army has to use so many millions of bullets, right? So how you ensure good quality of bullets that you supply to the soldiers on the war front? Because when you are supplying in millions, one problem with the testing of bullet is most of the time bullets have to be tested in quality or inspection for inspection procedure for bullet is you actually fire them, whether the bullet is of good quality or not. So when you fire the bullet, you can't use them again. So how to come over it? So
Sampling.
whenever the type of inspection is of destructive nature, you have to definitely use sampling. When the method of inspection is of destructive nature, just like if you want to see the quality of cement from a cement factory, what you do is those guys, they will take occasionally some cement coming out of the process. They put some sand in it, mix it, and then pour water and dry it. And after 2 or 3 days of curing, they will just see what is its compressive strength. So if at all they have to, because the very process of inspection is of destructive in nature. So in certain products, the process of inspection is a destructive process. Just like you want to test the quality of tubelets that are coming from a tubelets plant. So what they do, occasionally they take some sample and put them, glow them for 1,000 hours and see like how many have fused out during that 1,000 hours of continuous lighting. So this, any doubts? So here, so this sampling plan is very good when your inspection costs are very high in the form of destructive, which are of destructive in nature, and when your inspection costs are clumsy, long time taking, then these acceptance sampling techniques are very, very good. And at the same time, you have to keep one thing in mind, no sampling plan will ensure 100% good quality. You can use this, say for example, for mission critical items like space, like you have to use certain components for space. There you cannot use acceptance sampling. You have to do 100% inspection. Like in the case of James Webb telescope, every part has to be thoroughly inspected. So there you can't say like I will go for some sampling plan to reduce the sampling, to reduce your inspection overhead, because they are space related items, healthcare, space, all these are pharmaceutical. As long as they are not destructive in nature, you should not go for acceptance sampling, right? So acceptance sampling in a way helped the Americans to reduce their inspection overheads, and at the same time maintaining certain reasonable level of quality.
Sir, how the inspection done before, sir?
Huh?
how was the inspection done by others like German and all?
No, they were using sampling techniques only before that, but they were not scientifically designed. Whereas single sampling plan, double sampling plan, they are designed based on probability and statistics with a lot of experimentation going on. Like
So the others were like randomly picking 5 and testing them, and if 5 are okay, then accepting everything like that.
Ah, so those prior to that, there was no systematic approach to deciding the parameters of a sampling plan. See, in any sampling plan, three numbers you have to finalize. One is lot size, second is sample size, and third one is acceptance number. Anyway, we will discuss those single sampling plan, how they are designed, okay, in the next two classes. So here, so this single sampling plan and double sampling plan has really helped the mankind to reduce their inspection overheads. So now let us go to the first case. So uses of statistical process control charts. So why we have to use them? This is one use of the statistical process control charts is controlling the process. In fact, yeah, see, you take any process, whether man-made or natural, every process comes with, every process has some kind of variation. See, even nature, take nature, nature is also a process. You know, so like for example, all the, like if you measure the IQ of all the people, it follows normal distribution. If you measure the heights of the people, again it follows a normal distribution. So what we have to do, like that means variation is a fact of life. Any process doesn't give its output at an exact value. In fact, that is why we had to introduce the concept of
Statistics.
statistics, okay, concept of tolerance. When Eli Whitney accepted that Muscat's contract, he thought I can standardize the mating parts and I will produce exactly at this given dimension. But ultimately, what he realized is that no matter, huh? No matter what kind of care he is taking, the process is, he has some variations. So to overcome that process of variation, he introduced the concept of tolerance. So any process, you take any process, man-made or natural process, there is always some variation in the output of the process. Right? So you cannot, only thing is, you can only ensure, like as a mechanical engineer or process or chemical engineer, whether the process is chemical in nature or mechanical in nature or electrical in nature, variation is a fact of life. And as a in charge of that process, you should make that variation consistent. That means it should vary within a certain band. So So that is what we mean by the controlling the process. See, here we are not controlling the process that it should exactly give its output at an exact value. We are only saying that it should, the variation, what, see, that is the very purpose of statistical process control charts is to make that variation consistent. Because any process can increase its variation because of the wear and tear of its various interacting parts present in the process. Say, for example, a worn out bearing in a machine tool can create a lot of chatter, vibrations, and thereby suddenly there is an increase in variation, process variation. So similarly, breakdown of lubrication system in the process can lead to increased variation. So, but sometimes these are visible things, but sometimes certain causes of variation are invisible or not noticeable by a human being. But still, there is a variation, and one of the beautiful uses of statistical process control charts is it will tell you like when a process is likely to lead into uncontrollable variation, or when the process is suffering from some ailment. That ailment may be breakdown of lubrication system, worn out of a bearing, or it may be the cutting tool getting blunt. The gearbox has certain play because of wear and tear of the shaft or gear tools. So sometimes certain causes are silent. They're not visible. They're not visible. But the moment you maintain SPC charts, statistical process control charts, they will tell you, oh, this is the process is likely to going into some kind of uncontrolled situation. Be careful. That means that is the beauty of this SPC charts. They have that what is so called predictability of the health of a process. They can monitor the health of a process. So as I told you now, when you say a particular tool or process or a subject is matured, is when it has that predictive capacity. In fact, Schuhart used to say that he used to say that every process, it seems it keeps on telling its story. Unfortunately, you don't know its language, hence you don't understand its story. So what is the language you should master to understand its language, to understand its agony or happiness, is first of all learn statistical process control charts. So then you gain insight about the process. In fact, like as you become more and more experienced with the process, you gain certain insights. Like what is the frequency of a particular problem? Like for example, for how many hours a cutting tool will work for you? For how many hours you should change your lubricating system or check for the lubrication, quality of lubrication? When you have to check for the worn out bearing? What kind of condition monitoring tools you should use to measure the health of the process? Right? So this is the beauty of this control charts. So here, one is third one is monitoring the process by observing its performance. Right? So you know, like normally, how we define the performance of the process is like like what is the like how much throughput the process is able to give before it breaks down. Say how many components it is giving of good quality before it breaks down. How much time it is idle because of the some maintenance issue or breakdown. So all that statistics of the process you can collect. But like this is where even your machine learning, deep learning can help us. So now people are using machine learning algorithms and other things to monitor the health of a process. In a way, they are implementing statistical process control techniques only. Right? So then the fourth point is identifying variation and the particular types of variation. So there are variation in a process may be due to two kinds of causes. They are called as, one is random causes, another is assignable causes. So random causes means it is those causes, random causes means it is those causes where if they are there is nothing harm coming to the process. If only random causes are operating in a process, then there will be some kind of consistency in the variation of a process. Whereas if assignable causes are there, apart from random causes, say random causes will always happen. And how we define random causes means it is those causes where the individual contribution of each cause is very minimal on the process variation. So hence you cannot identify and remove them, because removing random causes is also a bit costly also. Whereas assignable causes will increase the variation of a process, and you should try to eliminate assignable causes. Like for example, I had given in the previous case, like you see, if there is an increased variation in the output from a lathe, it may be because of breakdown of lubrication system, or tool got worn out, or even your jigs and fixture is not working well, or your breakdown of your bearings, right? So whenever those assignable causes are there, immediately that is reflected in the increased variation of output of a process, right? So this is where we should be careful. So this is so now what is the issue now? Next stage is monitoring and reducing the error. Suppose if you can, like first of all, you can monitor. See, there are what you call your whenever you are monitoring a process, you are likely to commit two types of errors. Type 1 error and type 2 error. Type 1 error and type 2 error. So what is this type 1 error means? Type 1 error means when the process is good, you interpret it as bad. And type 2 error is When the process is bad, but you interpret it as good. Hyphen error is when the process is good, you interpret it as bad, and vice versa. Hyphen error is what we said.
Sir, when process is good, why will someone interpret as bad, sir?
Because normally random causes and assignable causes, sometimes it is, if you are not maintaining SPC charts, sometimes people commit these two errors because they are sometimes they assume random causes. They see sometimes they see occasionally a big variation. Actually, that variation may be only because of random causes. But you interpret it as, oh, something has gone wrong, so you will stop the process. And ultimately, when you look for the assignable causes, there is no assignable cause. So here, type 1 error means when the process is good, but you interpret it as bad. So what is the cost implication? Oh, you have 11 class? Okay. So anyway, like what we'll do, so we will continue tomorrow. Meanwhile, you just go through this, what do you call, SPC, so that we can quicken our explanation of statistical process control techniques.
Sir,
Okay.
one doubt.
Ah,
In this, there is something like random error, random defect and systematic defect, right? Defect due
not
to
systematic effects. See, random causes means it is those causes which cannot be individually identified and removed.
okay,
Whereas
sir.
assignable causes means you can individually identify. See, breakdown of lubrication system, definitely that is a assignable cause which you can remove. So you stop the machine, correct the lubrication system, or change the lubrication oil, or cutting fluid. So that means you are able to assign the cause.
Okay, sir, understood. Now understood,
Whereas
sir.
random causes means, you see, it is the basic vibration characteristic of the machine or a process, the structural stability of the process, the kind of people design, basic design itself. See, some certain things. That's why, first of all, if your design is excellent, 90% of the quality problems can be avoided. So that's why people always to work for robust design, right? So that you don't have the headache of online use of online techniques like statistical process control techniques. So your goal is should be how to avoid even online quality control techniques. Okay, is it fine?
Yes, sir.
We will continue tomorrow. Tomorrow at what time? 10 o'clock, no?
Yes, sir.
Ah.
Sir, what's the portion for minor exam?
Huh?
Minor exam portion, sir.
That is work study and production management. We have those two chapters now, production management and second one is the productivity and work study. Okay, those two chapters. Quality control is not there.
The production management is there.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Because we have hardly covered in the mid now.
Sir, production management, productivity and work study, sir. Proposed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Also from Madhumuti's lectures also, no, sir?
Yeah. That is anyway. I am just telling about my thing. So Madhumati sir might have told you like that he is putting questions both in inventory management as well as production
Project management.
Yeah. So you will have around 4 chapters for this minor. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.